Some people say that Naruto doesn't have villains and instead just has broken heroes. This is partially true. Some of the most notable antagonists are characters that have a noble cause, but their methods are misguided. Not all antagonists have much of a cause, though. Some are merely just soldiers following orders, and others are completely self-absorbed and sadistic. There's a range when it comes to villains, and many characters are very complex characters. There are no antagonists that should be worshipped, though. Some people praise Pain's philosophy and even say that he was right. He was not, and even Nagato realizes this before his death. He admits that Naruto's idea for peace was better, and this idea prevails in the end of the series as well. I'll get into Pain more later, so I'll go ahead and explain a few things about this video. I'm only ranking characters who I feel are notable enough to rank, so if you say I'm missing someone, it's intentional. I also didn't include Itachi because he's not really a villain, and I didn't include Sasuke either. In my opinion, Sasuke is a co-protagonist. Finally, I want to say that there are several ways I examined how evil each character is. I mainly focused on their ambitions, but I also looked at their actions and morals as well. I felt like their ambitions were the most important because it shows what they stand for. Anyway, let's go ahead and start with the least evil antagonist. Starting at number 17, I have Haku. Haku's only ambition is to serve Zabuza, so her morality is almost solely based on his. There are other characters like that on this list, but the reason why Haku is so low is that Zabuza is one of the least evil villains as well. So in a way, she has the potential to be one of the most evil villains as well, considering she almost blindly follows one. If you take her blind loyalty out of the equation, she's actually one of the most pure characters in the series. We know she's a pacifist who prefers to knock out her opponents by putting needles through certain pressure points. This has to be something she studied extensively because of her unwillingness to kill opponents. That's true dedication, and she's the only antagonist on this list that is averse to killing opponents. If Zabuza instructed her to kill, she would though. When she took Kakashi's lightning blade, she held on to his arm so that Zabuza could attack Kakashi. This is the only instance where she tries to kill someone, but she's doing it to defend Zabuza. I do wonder how obedient she is to Zabuza though. When she encountered Naruto in the forest, she didn't kill him, but that wasn't because of how good she is. They were planning an ambush at the bridge, and attacking Naruto would have alerted Team 7 before said ambush. I do wonder what would have happened in this encounter if the circumstances were different. If Zabuza told her to kill any Team 7 members on sight, would she? Or would she let them slide and then tell Zabuza she didn't see any opponents? Ultimately, Haku is a very wholesome character whose allegiance to Zabuza makes her morality malleable. Next at number 16 I have Zabuza. Despite being a product of the Blood Mist, he had a good side to him. The reason why he became a rogue ninja was that he tried to overthrow Yagura, who may have still been under Obito's control at the time. The Mist is a very hardcore village either way. It wasn't Obito's idea to have academy students kill each other in the final exam. Zabuza stood up for his village, and this is a highly uncommon trait among others in this list. Zabuza does have a bad side though. He did work as a mercenary for a mob boss, but this was just so he could amass funds for another coup. This creates a moral gray area because he is killing the innocent for a greater cause. Zabuza has no qualms killing his assignments though. He seems to enjoy fighting Kakashi when he has the upper hand, and he also tells Team 7 how much he loved killing the other academy students. This is how many Mist Ninja are. They enjoy fighting others, and that includes killing. When Suigetsu and Kisame were waiting on Sasuke and Itachi to finish fighting, they sparred and loved every second of it. That's what growing up in the Mist does to you. He enjoys fighting enemies, but also deeply cares about his comrades. Haku's death absolutely tore him apart. Naruto made him break down, but he was noticeably worse in combat after she died. I think this is because he couldn't focus after her death, and this is why Kakashi suddenly got such an edge over him. This is supported by the manga having several panels where it looks like Zabuza is trying to compose himself after her death. Ultimately, Zabuza takes some pleasure in killing, but he also has a noble ambition in changing the Mist for the better, along with deeply caring about Haku. Next to number 15 I have Kisame. Kisame also enjoys fighting like Zabuza, but he gets more of a kick out of it. Zabuza has more of a cockiness to him, whereas Kisame doesn't. Zabuza only has fun when he's winning, but Kisame thoroughly enjoys fighting unless he's defeated. He also is far more barbaric, considering that he suggested cutting off Naruto's legs, so Naruto can run away when they tried to kidnap him. He also tried to cut off B's legs after he defeated him. It's a rather heartless tactic, but there's more to Kisame than the joy he gets out of fighting. His backstory consists of him eliminating his superior for colluding with the enemy. What's ironic about this is that his superior ordered Kisame to kill his captured comrades, so they wouldn't give away intel. This put Kisame in a confused state that was soothed when Obito told him about the infinite Tsukuyomi. Zabuza's solution is overthrowing the mist, but Kisame looks at the bigger picture and believes the entire world is a lie. Kisame doesn't want the infinite Tsukiyomi just for himself, though. After he was captured, he didn't spill intel in an attempt to save himself. Instead, he willingly killed himself in order to stop that from happening. It's not clear on why exactly he did this. Maybe he thought beyond himself and wanted the whole world to enjoy the infinite Tsukiyomi. Or maybe he wanted to protect his comrades in the end, even though he had a long past of killing his comrades. On the surface, Kisame seems like someone who just takes pleasure in killing, but if you read between the lines, he actually cares about at least his comrades and perhaps even the whole world. Next at number 14, I have Madara. I first want to bring up his quote about how men can talk about peace while spilling blood. I think this applies to several people on this list, especially Zabuza and Kisame. They do enjoy fighting, but they only fight to help their noble cause. It just shows how they have an evil side and a good side, just like Madara. Madara seems his happiest when he's fighting, but he absolutely despises humans killing each other. He also is unusually concerned with finding peace for others, considering how arrogant he is. There are others further up on the list who say they are doing things for peace, when a lot of their ambition is actually for themselves. Madara is not like that, though. From a young age, he dreamed of peace with Hashirama, and even tried to establish that by creating the Leaf Village. Things fell apart, and eventually he concluded that true peace could not exist, since humans can't understand others as well as themselves. He bought into the infinite Tsukiyomi, but his methods of achieving it were not as pure as his intentions. In order to get Obito to buy into it, he coordinated Rin's death, which makes Madara part of the problem he's trying to solve. Madara was desperate for Obito to carry on his plan, and his plan did work, but that is such an evil method for such a noble cause. Madara's quote on duality is perfect for explaining why he killed Rin. In the war arc, Madara killed many of the people he said he wanted to save, but this was because they were interfering with his plan. The problem is that Madara loves to battle and didn't mind killing them. This separates him from someone like Itachi. Itachi had to kill the Uchiha clan, but he cried while doing so. Madara doesn't care either way, but what's interesting is that he didn't kill the 5 Kage. He leaves them on the verge of death. This may be because he wanted them to experience the infinite Tsukiyomi. He didn't have the time to pacify his enemy when they were in the thousands, but when it was just 5 opponents, he let them live. He also decided to cast the infinite Tsukiyomi before killing Team 7, and this was probably because he hoped to lead them to salvation as well. So Madara is interesting in that he loves to stroke his own ego, yet he is very concerned with the well-being of the world. Several antagonists are concerned as well, but Madara is arguably the most concerned, and with the least self-interest. However, he doesn't care how low he has to stoop in order to create his version of peace. And that's why I consider him more evil than Zabuza and Kisame. I don't see them killing Rin like that. Next is number 13, I have Pain. Pain is higher than Madara because his ambitions are more self-serving, and his plan for peace has extremely evil means. Pain didn't know about the infinite Tsukiyomi, so that is part of why he has his plan for starting an apocalypse to force temporary peace. I'm pretty sure Obito never told Nagato about it, but if Nagato trusted Obito, he would have seen that as a better method for creating peace. This doesn't completely excuse Pain for choosing the more evil plan for peace, though. Madara and Nagato both reached a point where they totally gave up on the world and schemed for a new way to impose peace. Madara believed that he could enforce it by being a dictator, but somehow Nagato figured killing almost everyone was a solution. Somehow they were in the exact same spot, but came up with different solutions. Nagato viewed himself as the strongest round just like Madara did. Why didn't he try to rule over the entire world, though? The reason is that Pain's ambitions have a self-serving aspect. Madara went out of his way to kill Rin in order for Obito to understand his perspective. That was a one-time thing in a desperate situation, whereas Pain wanted to make everyone suffer in order for them to understand his perspective. Nagato is so distraught over his trauma that he wants everyone to feel how he feels. Some of this is because he believes that it will lead to peace, but it also is partially because he's angry at the world. That's why he doesn't try to become a dictator like Madara. His view of true peace is distorted by him blaming the world for his parents and Yagiko's death. He wants to wreak vengeance on the world, and that's why he decimates the Leaf Village. Itachi and Kisame kept a low profile and were able to locate Naruto when they invaded the Leaf. When Pain infiltrated, he decided the best way to locate Naruto was to attack the Leaf. And then when Naruto wasn't there, he decided to completely destroy it as an act of revenge. Attacking the Leaf Village only encourages the cycle of hatred he's trying to destroy. Pain's philosophy and actions are contradictory because of the grudge he holds against the shinobi world. This grudge makes his ambition for peace muddied with other self-serving ambitions. Next to number 12, I have Kaguya. Kaguya is not a very developed character, so it's hard to figure out what she's about. Originally, she enforced world peace, but eventually she saw that the infinite Tsukuyomi was the only way for peace. She also wanted it so she could selfishly return all chakra back to her. With Pain, it seems like he's more oriented towards peace than his personal revenge on the world. It's hard to tell how strongly Kaguya leans towards either side, though. When Kakashi originally asks her what her ambition is, she says peace, but later on she says all chakra belongs to her. Hagoromo seems to indicate that she primarily just wants everyone's chakra. She seems genuinely unstable, so I'll say it's around 50-50. Last thing to note is that she doesn't enjoy fighting or killing. Next at number 11, I have Black Zetsu. He's right above Kaguya because he is Kaguya's will, but he gets pleasure in killing. When Obito was dying, he mocked him extensively. There's not much to say about him because he just stands for what Kaguya stands for. It's similar to how Haku is ranked right next to Zabuza since she's obedient to him. What's different is that Zetsu has no redeeming qualities. There are others higher than him that aren't 100% evil like him, but those characters' partial evils are far greater regardless. Zetsu also serves someone that isn't that evil, so I feel like this is a good place for him, despite him being completely irredeemable by himself. Next at number 10, I have Obito. Obito is the least understood by me on this list, but I understand him well enough to know he fits here. He is an incredibly complex character. Some people like to say Obito didn't start a war over Rin, but he kinda did. It's not the sole reason he bought into the Moon Eye plan, but she is the primary motivator. After Rin dies, he says he wants to create a world where she exists again. After he is defeated in the war arc, he immediately thinks about Rin, and later tells Kakashi that Rin was his only hope. Obito doesn't really talk about world peace, and when he does, I'm not convinced it's what he wants. Both Nagato and Madara wanted peace from a young age, but eventually grew pessimistic, and came up with extreme plans to enforce peace. Obito from a young age only wanted to be Hokage. This was less about helping others and was more about being acknowledged. It was just like how Naruto originally wanted to be Hokage in order to be acknowledged. So he never had an ambition for world peace that got distorted like Nagato or Madara. We do see that when Naruto looked into his heart, that he did wish he had gone back to the Leaf and eventually become Hokage. So there was a part of him that did want to become Hokage for more than just the glory. It's just that that ambition is far less present than his feelings towards Rin. When he dies, he's happy to have saved Naruto, but is mostly happy because he'll be joining Rin. So this explains why a lot of his actions weren't promoting peace, really. He controlled Yagura because the Miss Shinobi put the three tails on Rin. I guess he attacked the Leaf because Minato didn't save Rin or Obito. Also, when he fights Naruto, he tries to tear Naruto down to make Naruto give up, in order to reaffirm Obito giving up. Pain is different as he actually tried to convince Naruto that he knew what peace was. Obito didn't care so much about that and just wanted to reaffirm his belief in there being no hope. And that's why Obito is higher than those below him on this list. His actions have been just as evil and his ambitions have been even more self-serving. Next to number 9 I have Danzo. Danzo is similar to Obito in that he falsely believes he wants to improve the world when he actually only cares about himself. Danzo is a more extreme version of this and is even a narcissist. When Obito was a villain, he subconsciously cared about his former comrades, but Danzo only cares about Danzo. Narcissists only barely care about others. He did want to stop the Akatsuki in the Uchiha Rebellion. Ironically, he helped cause both of those things. He shows his true priorities during the Pain attack, though. He keeps all the root underground and hopes that Tsunade will perish in order for him to become a Hokage. He says that the casualties are just necessary sacrifices for him. The Uchiha Massacre is also an instance of sacrificing others for his own gain. He didn't want a civil war, but at the same time he wanted the Uchiha to die so that he could use their eyes for Izanagi. However, in his final moments, he's mainly focused on stopping the Akatsuki when it's too late for him. So he does care about others, just not to the extent that he cares about himself. Next to number 8 I have Deidara. He hasn't done nearly as evil things as others below him on this list, but I put him aside because there's little good in him. He simply cares about creating explosions. He also likes hunting down Jinchuriki to an even greater extent than Kisame. Like I said earlier, Kisame both enjoys and does not enjoy fighting, but Deidara fully enjoys it. It doesn't necessarily excite him, but he likes winning and showing off his explosions. He enjoys it so much that he went out of his way to fight Sasuke to prove that he was superior to an Uchiha. It's strange because he's so laid back, yet he's so evil at the same time. Of course, when Toby started trolling him non-stop, he lost his cool demeanor, which is funny since Toby was an Uchiha. He also melted down against Sasuke, and this was because he wanted to be superior to the Uchiha. Last thing to note is that he did feel bad for self-destructing near Toby, so this shows he cares about more than just his art. Deidara hasn't done as many evil acts as Danzo, but he would if the situation called for it. Danzo at least somewhat cared about the Leaf Village. Next at number 7 I have Kakuzu. He doesn't get much joy out of fighting or killing, but he's very cold-hearted. He's only motivated by money and will collect bounties no matter who the bounty is on. Most importantly, he killed several of his partners on the Akatsuki simply because they annoyed him. That shows a total disregard for human life. Even Deidara cared about Sasori and Tobi a little. There's not much else to say about him, so I'll just leave it at that. Next, number 6 I have Hidan. Unlike the last two Akatsuki members, Hidan kills for a reason. He kills for a higher power that he knows exists because it grants him immortality. The problem is that he would kill just as many people if he didn't believe in Jashin. His love for killing exceeds everyone below him on this list. When he killed Asuma, his euphoria was almost drug-like. These levels of enthusiasm for killing create arguments for him being higher, but his religion lowers them to this spot. He at least feels like he's killing for a higher purpose, which is more honorable than the motives of those above him. Next, number 5, I have Gaara. Hidan killed for himself and for his god, but Gaara only killed for himself. He also has similar levels of pleasure from it. Gaara's dogma is just to kill others in order for him to feel alive. For example, when other shinobi gave him their scroll in the Forest of Death, he killed them anyway. He'll also go out of his way to kill others if he has a grudge. He tried to kill in his sleep Rock Lee in the hospital, and he may have wanted to kill Sasuke before the finals as well. Gaara secretly watched Sasuke train, but was deterred by Kakashi being there. Gaara's bloodlust was so heavy that Kakashi snuffed it out, so Gaara probably went there to kill Sasuke. At times, this bloodlust can be so blinding that even his siblings feared for their lives. He's above Hidan only because Hidan at least has an exterior motive to kill. Next, number 4, I have Sasori. Sasori is under the radar when it comes to discussing the most evil Naruto characters. He does get used out of killing by creating puppets, but just like Hidan, he enjoys the art of it. He has professed that he enjoys creating puppets because of his belief in his art being eternal. He even turned himself into a puppet, and that wasn't necessarily to become more powerful. Sasori wanted to practice what he preached by stopping himself from aging. However, Sasori doesn't get as much pleasure from killing as Gaara or Hidan. He's also surprisingly not very sadistic. The reason why he's so high is that he will go out of his way to kill. Hidan and Gaara mostly kill who's in front of them, while Sasori presumably went out of his way to destroy an entire country. He never explains why he did this, but I highly doubt this was an act of self-defense. He must have wanted to kill everyone in order to use some of the corpses for puppets. He said he only had around 300 puppets, so most of those kills didn't end up serving a use to him. He is above Hidan and Gaara because he goes so far out of his way to kill. Next to number 3, I have Kimimaro. He by himself is not as evil as Sasori, but because he blindly serves Orochimaru, it makes him more evil in my opinion. He endorses and helps Orochimaru, so in a way that makes him more evil. His devotion to Orochimaru was so strong that on his literal deathbed, he went out into the field to help the Sound Four. He even tells Taiyu that only his will is making him move at this point. Such devotion to someone so evil is not something that should be overlooked. However, by himself, he wasn't very sadistic, and also didn't lust for killing. He had a cockiness to him on the battlefield just like Deidara, and in fact, him by himself is around as evil as Deidara. It's his blind faith to Orochimaru that carries him this high. Next to number 2, I have Kabuto. Kabuto is above Kimimaro because he helped Orochimaru far more. He helped with Orochimaru's human experiments along with managing their prisoners. When Orochimaru couldn't wait long enough for Sasuke, Kabuto told all the prisoners that the winner of a fight to the death gets to walk free. Orochimaru killed that person instead. Kabuto made them fight to the death in order to determine who was the strongest. The matter was urgent, but that's such an extreme way to determine that. Kabuto also enjoyed fighting some, but it occasionally comes out as rage. His default demeanor on the battlefield is smug, but when Naruto persists in their fight, he gets strangely mad. There's also a moment in the Forest of Death where he scares his opponents with pure rage as well. It's like he has an underlying bitter side to him that has to be provoked to come out. I find it strange, but what's even stranger is his passion for being a medic. When Hinata passed out during the Chunin exam finals, Kabuto healed her. He had more important things to worry about, and yet he took his time to heal the enemy. He also does this with Sakura when Fortell Naruto hurt her arm. He tries to say that he's only doing it because the Leaf wanted to take down the Akatsuki, but again, this was in the middle of an engagement. Despite being so evil, Kabuto does have a soft side to him. Lastly, at number 1, I have Orochimaru. Others on this list have some aspects to them that make them less evil, but Orochimaru is not one of them. There's nothing redeeming about him. He doesn't care about his comrades, and this is shown when he basically shunned Kimimaro when he got sick. He enjoys fighting, and this is shown when he was having a very pleasant time fighting for until Naruto. He has a sadistic side to him as well. This is shown when he makes Hiruzen fight his teachers and students simultaneously, while the Hidden Leaf is under attack around him. The reasoning for this is all-time levels of petties, too. I suppose Orochimaru was mad that Hiruzen didn't appoint him as Hokage, and that Hiruzen caught him experimenting on villagers. His response to this was waiting almost a decade, and then attempting to start a war between two nations in order to help his cause. If the Leaf and Sans conflict persisted, it would have likely started a world war, yet Orochimaru didn't care. It's quite incredible, really. Orochimaru has zero redeeming qualities. So that's my list. There's many ways to look at morality, but for this video I mainly focused on what characters stood for. I accounted for their actions too, but those can be circumstantial. Danzo had a lot of political power, and this allowed for him to carry out his evil acts. Someone like Deidara did not show off his evilness as often because he didn't have the reason to. He still tried to kill Sasuke just because he was an Uchiha, though. At least when Danzo killed the Uchiha, it was partially to defend the village. I chose those two as an example because I imagine it would be a head-scratcher for many. They also help explain my reasoning and placements for this list. Anyway, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos in the future. Comment something if you have something to say. And thank y'all for watching, and I guess I'll see y'all next time.